So yesterday I made a video talking about Y2J appearing on the WWE Network. We know Tony Khan approved it. We know Vince McMahon approved it. But then it got me thinking. I saw so many comments coming from you guys that honestly, it really got me thinking about the idea of AEW and WWE working together and whether or not that would actually happen. And the more that I keep thinking about this, as much as we would all love to see it, it's probably not going to happen. At least now. Not until AEW gets bigger. But the real question is, where will AEW be 1 year from now? And the reason why that's incredibly important is because I was reading something online that Dave Meltzer suggested that WWE and AEW will have a bidding war over Chris Jericho, and it really got me thinking. I'm going to talk about that all in today's video, but first, if you guys didn't know, we have launched a new DPW mailing list. It's a free newsletter. All you got to do is click the link in the description, enter your email. You're going to get daily updates in the world of pro wrestling. Just yesterday, I even posted a picture of the New Japan Pro Wrestling belt. New Japan Pro Wrestling has a new belt. It's called the NJPW Strong Openweight Championship, and it's a very interesting look. And in this newsletter, I actually talked about how you could win a free t-shirt. So guys, it doesn't cost you anything. It's absolutely free, and I'm not going to spam you. And you're going to get some news that I may have not talked about in a video. So make sure you guys check out the link in the description, enter your email. Over 125 people have already done this in 2 days. So thank you guys to those who have already done this. You're an early bird. I definitely appreciate it. And we got some more goodies being given away. Coupon codes, merchandise, all that good stuff. Now, with that being said, guys, we got to talk about Chris Jericho coming back to WWE because a lot of you probably won't agree, but I think it's going to happen. That's right. I'm predicting it's going to happen. See, here's the premise of this entire conversation. This topic right here is very interesting, but it really depends on how big AEW is in a year from now. And I think AEW will be pretty damn big. And I think that's all of the reason why Chris Jericho would leave AEW. See, I think AEW and Chris Jericho came together. And more specifically, I think Chris Jericho came to AEW to help build an alternative wrestling organization to the WWE. One that is feasible, one that pays, one that is inclusive, one that does a lot of things in comparison to WWE. And again, regardless of what you think of AEW, this is a place where men and women are able to go work and get paid really good money. And some of these contracts are ridiculously high paying. And that's a whole conversation for another time. But of course, what will happen a year from now when Chris Jericho is out of contract with AEW? In a way, to me, I think at that point with AEW I think they're going to be so much bigger. I could see Chris Jericho in a situation where Chris Jericho could essentially have done such great things in AEW that he will go back to WWE for one final run and go for retirement. And I think that would be a part-time contract. I think that would include a Hall of Fame induction. And I think at that point, if there's ever going to be a true relationship between the two companies, I think it's going to be at the end of 2022. See, the thing is, whether you think WWE really views AEW as competition or not, I think it's very clear that at some point when Chris Jericho gets inducted to the Hall of Fame, WWE will need to borrow him for that, even though he's on AEW. So even if he re-signed with AEW, I think we still see him stay with WWE. But I think one thing that we need to discuss is that Chris Jericho possibly entertaining the idea of signing with WWE at the end of his contract is not only massively important for WWE and AEW, I feel like that's one hell of a Hall of Fame speech. And I think that he would obviously want to include AEW in that speech. I think he looks at it from the wrestling organization from a whole. And with that being said, I don't know if Chris Jericho is in a situation where he needs the money. I would say probably not, considering that Fozzy has been very successful in all of his other ventures. But of course, the amount of money that WWE would probably offer Chris Jericho for his final run would probably be massive. And the real question would be if Tony Khan and AEW want to match that or beat that offer. And the real question here would be whether Chris Jericho needs that final run. Like, how far away is Chris Jericho from actually retiring? See, that's the question everybody would want to know, because maybe Chris Jericho just has one final match, but I feel like there is still so much for him to do in AEW. And a lot of people don't agree with that. A lot of people think he's already kind of ran its course, but I think with everything that's happening with MJF and the Inner Circle and the Pinnacle, I think there's a lot that you could do until the end of 2022. So if he were to leave AEW, he would probably introduce and create some new stars for AEW before he exits. And I would assume from the outside looking in, that would be his goal. Now, most importantly, in this situation, for the fans' perspective, would be what would be Chris Jericho's final matchup. Because a lot of people thought Chris Jericho was on his way out when he put over Fandango at WrestleMania. And then, of course, we saw Chris Jericho return, and he returned again. So who would Chris Jericho's final match be? And maybe that's a long way away, long time away. Like maybe this is something that we're not going to expect in the near future, but we probably won't have that answer. We might not even know who that guy can be. But there are so many matchups I would love to see with Chris Jericho. And to be honest with you, I think there's a lot of matchups in AEW I would like to see with Chris Jericho. So before we could even get to the idea of AEW signing Chris Jericho's final contract, his very first contract being like his only contract, before we can get to that even mindset, we have a lot of matchups we want to see first. And I want to see who Chris Jericho is going to put over. But the one thing that I absolutely love about AEW and how they handled Chris Jericho was how they actually, they've utilized him in a way. They've he's got a new finisher that is so protected. But at the end of the day, he is still bringing up new stars, and he's still building up new people and new faces. And we're seeing that with Sammy Guevara. We're seeing that with MJF. I feel like everything that's associated with Chris Jericho, Orange Cassidy, everything we've seen thus far has been a big deal. And I feel like he's going to want to accomplish a lot of that before he goes for that final run. Now, how much money would WWE be willing to put on the table? See, that's the real question. There's so many real questions in this video, but I think that one might be one of the more important ones. How much money is WWE really willing to pay? Like, how much money are they really willing to spend? Because if I'm WWE, I say he's worth millions. But who knows? See, that's where things get tricky. WWE loves to open up their checkbook, but I don't know if they love to open it up for everybody. And would they do that with Chris Jericho? See, I think Chris Jericho has a future as a pro wrestling commentator. I think he has a future as a pro wrestling coach, agent, producer, creative member. I think we're going to see him in pro wrestling forever. An office job or a creative role with WWE might make sense. But I think if he does sign with WWE at the end of 2022, I think it's going to be for one final run. But who knows? Maybe Chris Jericho will be like 70 years old, pulling a Ric Flair, doing some amazing shit. You never know. See, that's the thing with Chris Jericho. This guy can still go at his age, and it doesn't look like he's aging very, very much. So the guy can still go in the ring. I'm intrigued by it. I don't know what you guys think, but of course I do want to talk to you guys about it more. So with that being said, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and I'll respond, and we'll talk about it. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. This is Ango from Destination PW, and I'll see you next time.